I want to get to some of the substantive domestic and international issues in a minute, but let's just wrap up a little bit of the politics right now. Why should Democrats, looking at the Democratic nomination, the process, support you instead of Bill Bradley, a friend of yours, a former colleague in the Senate? What do you have to bring to this that he doesn't necessarily bring to this process?
Well, I'll be offering my vision when my campaign begins, and it'll be comprehensive and sweeping, and I hope that it'll be compelling enough to draw people toward it. I feel that it will be, but it will emerge from my dialogue with the American people. I've traveled to every part of this country during the last 6 years. During my service in the United States Congress, I took the initiative in creating the Internet.
Welcome to Flyby Films once or twice a month using the magic of distance-defying tubes or some shit like that. We get together to discuss films that either have been or will be forgotten. I'm Blake Collier, and with me tonight, sitting in the tiny box next to me, is my friend and co-host, Jameson Barsotti, the co-worst. On this episode, we are going to talk about the 1985 classic from Mark Romanek. Romanek. Yes, I wanted to say Romanoff. I'm getting my classical music involved in there. His movie Static, which I had never heard of until Jameson picked it. And man, we have some stuff to talk about with this one. I mean, first off, what the fuck is this movie? Yeah, so Jameson, first off, what is your relationship with Mark Romanek, and why are you a fan?
Well, he's actually my uncle. No.
Okay, Telly Savalas is your granddad.
Why am I a fan of Rock Marmaduke? No, Mark
Marmaduke? Rock Marmaduke?
Rock Marmaduke. Mark Romanek. Well, I don't know
Michael
if I'm
Jackson fan.
How many Michael Jackson videos did he direct?
I think just one, and it was Scream, which is a big one. It's like the most expensive music video of all time.
Well, good for him. No, I don't think
he got
I'm
a Grammy
really
for it.
Amazing.
Or
fantastic.
Grammy or whatever the fuck award he got. I don't remember. He got one of the big ones.
A VMA.
Who knows? That's all the same. It's jerk off.
Jerk off, yeah. He got a jerk off for that. Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure he got several.
Yeah. Why not? What's my relationship? I don't know. So I remember enjoying the movie 1 Hour Photo.
Me too, and I saw it in theaters.
Yeah, I remember enjoying that, and I'm a big fan of the book Never Let Me Go, which he didn't write, but he did the movie. And I think that movie got a lot of shit for not being as good as the book, but I don't think that's... I don't know. It was fine. It was actually pretty good, comparatively.
Are we about to have the argument that movies can't be better than books?
No, movies can be better than books, and if you, hold on to that grudge about it, then you're dumb.
Okay.
But, not you.
Yeah.
I was talking...
I don't care.
I assume that you agree with me on this, Blake.
Of course. I agree with you on everything.
Yeah.
Except for Sufjan.
Yeah. Well, we can't have it all nice things.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, so, he's really only made 3 movies. So I don't really know if I'm a fan. I like 1 Hour Photo. But about...
Has he really only made 3 movies?
Yeah.
This, 1 Hour Photo, and Never Let Me Go?
Yeah.
I have a friend who loves Never Let Me Go, wrote about it.
The movie or the book?
Yes, the movie.
Okay.
He's probably read the book, honestly. But
yeah. The book made me cry like a baby.
I feel like I need to read it. I feel like that author is someone I need to read a lot of, and I just never have.
I don't want to hype something up too much for you, but like, yeah, Ishiguro is like
The
very,
shit.
yeah, very good, and his books are not huge.
Is
Which,
he better than what's his name who did the Wind Up Bird Chronicles?
yes, I
He's
like him
better than
better
him?
than he's better
Whoa.
than him. But
Whoa, you don't let Blaine hear you say that.
Murakami, yeah, and I've read Wind Up Bird Chronicle, so I can say that. But no, they're both. I mean, they're both really good. I'm not trying to like.
No, one has to win, Jameson.
Well, one of them is Japanese, the other one is English. So
Which is which?
Murakami is Japanese. He actually, I was talking about him this week with a friend who had read a memoir about how I guess he's been running every day since he was like 35. And he runs a marathon every year, even now when he's like
Wow.
79. But I guess what's cool about Murakami is he owned a jazz club up until he was like in his 30s. And
Mhm.
then he was like, oh, maybe I'll try being a writer. And he just like switches to being a writer and is incredibly successful.
That makes
And
complete sense, though. I mean, people who can actually sit there and enjoy jazz are like on a different level as far as like their creative output because they can actually like get in with the vibe of jazz. Man, there's too many notes for me. I get
there's too many
confused real quick.
too many too many notes. You just gotta let the notes wash over you, Blake. That's
No,
the
no, don't get
secret.
me wrong. There are certain albums I will listen to over and over again. You know, Coltrane's Love Supreme, Badfoot Brown, and the Bradford Bunyan Funeral and
There's
Marching Band.
too many names, Blake. Too many names.
You know John Coltrane. Shut the fuck up.
I know that one. He's no Roy Donk, but he's a regular
Whoa,
on the Colgate Hour. You know.
whoa,
Whoa,
Roy Donk, a
Roy
donk a donk.
Donk.
That's a great name.
That is. It is a made-up name. Thank you. I think you should leave. But I watched. Okay, so getting back to your original question, Mark Romanek. I watched 1 Hour Photo again with my wife, who had never seen it, about a month ago, and I was like, I wonder what he's been up to. Turns out not much. Probably still running on the royalties from Scream, so um, but not much. But I noticed he has this random movie that he has disowned called Static that came out about 20 years before what he considers his debut, 1 Hour Photo. And yeah, so I was like, I wonder what this is all about.
Getting in on the ground floor. I like it.
Yeah. But I read a little bit about it and it was like Ernie is works at a crucifix factory and
Sold.
in the Bible Belt. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess I'm gonna do this. And then he has a great invention that will change the world. And I was like, yep. So
And then you saw Bob Gunton was in it, and you're like, oh my god, yes.
I was like, the king of that guy from that
Yeah,
thing is in
exactly.
this.
Exactly.
The ultimate one.
Speaking of that guy from that thing, do you want to go into part 2 of our Christian rock discussion?
You know what? Yeah. But I also want to ask you,
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to open up the floor because you've been on a journey this whole year. And
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
think I think you should talk about this, especially on this episode, and I'll make the connection. This movie was like uh, uh indie slacker college movie before indie was a thing, but instead of indie, they had post punk, and so it was just dripping with post punk music all over. One of the characters was even in a successful post punk band,
And
and
she just up and left it
yeah,
in the middle of the
yeah,
concert.
to come back. But you've been on a journey exploring post-punk, all of the avenues and whatnot. So, Blake, will you tell us about your post-punk journey?
Yeah, my anxiety is like really high right now because I realize that I am only 11, no, 10 years into this exploration, and I only have 7 months left. In theory, I was supposed to listen to a year a week, and I am falling behind because
Are
God.
Are there
And
52 years of post-punk?
no, there's only
Oh,
like, well, it's 77 to now, so it's like
okay. Yeah.
48, 49, something like that. So I had
Yeah.
I had like 3 weeks of spare, but I've used them up like a numbskull. But good lord, from 77, well, actually from 79 to 86, there's a lot of post punk, like a lot. Well, especially when I got into the 83, 84, 85 range, it was like I had to do 3 weeks of exploration of just those years because it's too much post punk. But now I'm starting to drop off because we're getting to the 90s and everything's splitting off into grunge and industrial and shitty alternative and, your typical 90s, bullcrap. And so it's going to drop significantly, and maybe I'll actually like get a breather and do a couple of
Yeah.
years a week.
Yeah, you might be able to catch up.
Exactly.
I think you're right about like the 80s really hitting the post-punk stride
But it's gonna
there.
hit. It's gonna rise again once the 2000s hit, because there's the post punk revival. It won't
Yeah,
be
but
as much. It won't be
that's
as
only like
much.
4 years and then it tapers off. Right.
It depends on what country you're talking about.
Oh my God. I think
I've
you
been
need to
listening.
like
I've been listening to stuff from all over the world, bro.
and
Brazil,
you think
Japan.
is a week is long enough to cover an entire year for the entire world.
Well, no, I'm sure I've missed something. You can't. There's no
Wow.
way you can find everything. I'm hitting the highlights though. I'm hitting all the highlights. So,
I
um,
tried to Shazam all the songs um in Static, and some of them just didn't return anything.
it's because Spotify is the devil.
I Shazammed? I didn't Spotify. Is Shazam Spotify? I have no idea.
Oh, I don't know. It's probably been bought out by Amazon regardless. Um, no, actually, I think it's been bought by Apple because now it's like a app that you can't take off of Apple phones.
Mm.
It's like a widget.
I can take it off my Android.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, and I'm contemplating going Android after this one. But here's the deal, Jameson. Post punk is some good shit. Post punk for a whole year, probably not the best idea I've ever had.
Not your brightest moment.
Not my brightest moment, but that's the story of my life. I pick these journeys to go on, and I refuse to give up because I am obsessive compulsive. And so yeah, here I am. I'm in 1987. I have found bands now that I will be listening to a lot in my remainder of my life because holy shit, they're amazing.
Mm-hmm.
With the likes bands I'd never even heard of. I've found a newfound respect for the Talking Heads and
Mm-hmm.
REM.
Mm.
I have dropped, in my opinion, of U2 less than it already was. And Ian, if he was on the show, would argue against that. But he's not
Well,
on the
guess
show.
what?
So
He's not on the show. Yeah.
we already had this argument in the text form. Yeah, not a whenever you put U2 up against all the other bands, man, they do not bode well. Fun little story. The Edge's brother is in a band called Virgin Prunes, and it's a
Okay.
really great album. And I'm like, what happened? What happened between you and the Edge? What happened?
Well, I think one thing that happened is if you're going to be in a band called Virgin Prunes, you probably have a good sense of humor. If you're going to name yourself The Edge, I'm going to question your sense of humor.
Exactly.
So
That's fair.
that's maybe
fair.
one thing that happened.
Yeah, maybe one has a sense of humor and the other doesn't. I think that's actually pretty highly likely. Did you ever watch that documentary with called "It Might Get Loud"?
Mm-mm. No.
It's basically just watching Jack White, The Edge, and Jimmy Page talk about playing guitars and like shit, like music and shit like that. The Edge comes off looking like a douche. Jack White and Jimmy Page are like these like maestros, like they're just creating new instruments and shit like that. And The Edge is like, look at this new distortion pedal.
Yeah, I mean, I've never really considered The Edge as, and I say this as someone who knows that The Edge is a much better guitarist than I will ever be, but like I've never taken him as like in the top echelon of guitarists. He had a unique noise that connected with a lot of people, and that's
a delay
good.
pedal. That's all it is.
Sure,
it's a delay pedal.
But it's, he did a good job of promoting his sound.
Yeah.
I'll say that. So, maybe he was feeling a little like insecure being around, some people.
That's true.
Blake, I have a question for you, and it's related to post-punk.
Okay.
So, post-punk is always one of those genres that I am like, oh, when you hear it, and that's post-punk. And it frustrates me. I feel like that is a very frustrating way to define genres. I also find that the other way of defining genres that people try to do to get around that is they use time, and they're like, well, it's called post-punk, so it's after
punk.
Come on.
Which is
and
stupid.
It's like, yeah, that's stupid. There were a lot of things that happened after punk, and not all of it is post-punk. So if someone came up to you and said, describe to me post-punk, and you can't like show me bands, how would you do it?
I would say, and this is putting it very simply, I would say it's taking the principles of punk and letting them experiment with dub and reggae and electronica and various other genres, but maintaining the, well, not in every case DIY spirit, but maintaining that kind of like, fuck you mentality. Especially the most abrasive of it. There's a band called Half Japanese that is I think they're the ones that started out. None of them knew how to play instruments, and they just made albums as post punk, and they would just like create noise, and it comes out like it's actually not bad. I mean, there's a certain punk element to it that I can kind of get with. It's not something I would want to listen to all the time, but I at least appreciate what they're doing. And then you got like bands like Suicide, which are like heavy, heavy electronic and synth, but it's still kind of, pissed and like raging and just using synth instead of guitars. So yeah, I mean it's basically just what happens to punk when punk is dead, and the people who loved punk and who were in punk bands wanted to see what they could do next. I mean, notoriously Johnny Rotten from the Sex Pistols started Public Image Limited, completely different band, completely different sound for him, but they they're an interesting pick because their early stuff I can't handle. It's too droney, and not in the good way. Like not like drone ambient music. I can get with that, but like droney, like this song is way too fucking long. Like please God end. And watching them over the past 10 years, they've gotten more and more poppy, and it's unsettling. Like it's easier to listen to, but it's also not very good. And so, you got bands like that. They're basically people who were in previous punk bands, and they're like, oh, fuck, well, punk is dead. Like capitalism has destroyed it. The music industry has destroyed it. It's no longer what it was. So what do we do now? Well, you explore all the influences you had growing up, and a lot of that was reggae and dub and electronic and all sorts of shit. And see how you can incorporate the quote unquote punk spirit with that music. That's how I would explain it.
Well, that was very beautiful, but also very unsatisfying because it was too long.
That's fair. My short and sweet version is it's anything after punk.
Anything after punk. Yeah, okay, fine.
I will tell you my favorite band so far that I've listened to in the post-punk is Wire.
Okay, yeah.
Wire is fucking amazing so far. 4 albums deep into their catalog. Their first one being the best by far, but I've liked everything they've put out so far.
Yeah. Good.
And then there's the best song so far is Missiles by The Sound. It's good shit.
What is the best region?
Region, what do you mean? Like the best country?
Germany, Ohio.
I mean, that's
Japan.
Largely an easy question. It's England, but
it's England.
It's
for post-punk?
UK, yeah, by far. I would say a close second is Midwest America.
Yeah, there's a lot of Midwest, specifically like northern Midwest stuff.
Yep.
Like, Devo's from Ohio, and just like you have these weird bands just kind of popping up.
Bands. Yeah, it's post-punk was a big thing in the Midwest for whatever reason. I haven't gotten into as much of that because they kind of hit towards the end of it, like in the late 80s, early 90s, when they started like popping up a little more often. So I'm about to get some more of those. But I've already listened to several of them in the past. So
what also was
Midwest.
You know what also is big in the Midwest?
Metal.
Midwest emo.
That's true.
It has its own name.
Did you ever read that book by Chuck Klosterman about the metal scene in North Dakota?
No, I never did.
It was like one of his first books, and it was called. It wasn't Detroit Rock City. It was like Fargo Rock City, I think it was something like that. But it's a pretty funny a pretty funny book. I mean, he's a music writer. He's one of the better ones, but I highly recommend it. It's a fun read.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just like this weird little slice of life, and like, oh, there's a whole metal scene in North Dakota. Yeah.
Well, it's always funny to me that like death metal came from Florida. Like
that is funny.
Like,
although it makes sense, kind of, if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's been good, but I'm in the dumps a lot with post-punk. It's not always very happy. Very seldom is it happy.
Aw. Well, if you ever need to reach out to anyone, this is the suicide hotline. No,
I was hoping you were going to say that. Yeah. No, it's
I don't know if that joke is appropriate.
Not if my wife was on here, but even she'd probably laugh at it. Like a nervous laughter. Like, oh my God, I can't believe Jameson said that, but it is kind of funny, but oh my God.
Yeah. Ah, man, I'm tired. No,
This is good podcasting, people.
Oh man. My toddler just ran into here naked.
Oh, Hazel.
So,
what are you doing?
do you want to say hi to Blake? He said hi,
Hey
Blake.
there. What are you doing, you
What are you
red-headed
doing?
cherub?
Oh, he's sitting. He's sitting on me.
I thought you were standing. You're so tall.
He said, I thought you were standing, Hazel. He's not standing. This week I went to actually, this week's been a lot of fun because Hazel and I started playing catch. He brought home a foam baseball and he's starting to catch things and want to like throw it back to me. It's taken a little bit of practice, like the coordination and everything. But I went to an A's game on Tuesday and I got a ball. It was just thrown at me. But it was, it was one of their balls and it says like, official MLB baseball. So I was like, oh, this is cool. I had to like, beat off all the children who were trying to get it, but
Yeah.
but once I had it in my possession, I brought it home to my child, and he's been talking about the real baseball all week that he has. So it's
Would
been a
this
lot of
be kind of similar to the baseball in Underworld?
maybe.
And maybe so. You think it's of high importance?
The problem with that is that the A's are a terrible team, and no one was excited for this ball. So I don't think any collectors are going to remember this, even if they're garbage collectors. So
That's fair. Good for you. I'm proud of you, though, for bringing home a ball for your son.
I know.
That's like next level dadding right there.
Yeah, and I didn't like fight any children for it. I'd like to clear. I'd like to clear my name.
What'd you say?
No, I didn't. It rolled right to me, and I didn't even get up from my chair. I just reached out and grabbed it.
Do you mean it rolled right to you after you shoved the people out of the way?
Yes, that's what I meant.
That's fair. I mean, all for Hazel, right?
All for Hazel. It's all for you, Hazel.
I'm glad you didn't name your child Damien.
As I jump off the roof, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I feel like we only scratched the surface of Christian rock last time.
Scratch away, Blake.
It was like scratch and sniff. Like you got a little hint of the bullshit that we were talking about. So I'm just gonna go off on a diatribe for just a little bit, and then you can join in and elaborate. But this is my diatribe on Pitchfork. Pitchfork, man, fuck those guys. Here's the deal. I don't care how good the band is. I don't care how good they are. Pitchfork, if they find out they're Christian, they're gonna be like, well, they're people of faith, so their music is just kind of subpar, blah, blah, blah. Notoriously the case with Cold War Kids, when their first two albums, which are their greatest albums by far, and that is a objective opinion.
Objective. Are they post-punk?
No. I mean, maybe. That's the hard part about post-punk, though, is that I would say about 30 to 40% of what I've listened to so far, I question whether it's actually post-punk or not. So, that's just me. Yeah. What do I know? Just a dude. But yeah, I remember the first time whenever Cold War Kids released their first album, Robbers and Cowards.
Mm-hmm.
I was still reading Pitchfork occasionally because I hadn't fully gotten on the hate train. And I remember being like bowled over by that first Cold War Kids album because I'd never heard anything like it. It's like they were doing something like almost like ragtime, but with rock and a little bit of blues and like these like languid like piano ballads in the middle of an album, which is like generally speaking considered the worst idea ever in music, but it worked for him somehow. with the kind of the whole scope of the album.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just being like, I don't know where these guys came from, but this feels new. Like this feels like they're doing something different.
I can tell you where they came from.
Well, yeah,
Azusa
no.
Pacific University.
You fucking asshole. I meant from the ether of creativity. Where did these guys come from?
I was just saying
Azusa,
they came from just the Christian, music world,
It's true, they did. Because they're, I guess, I assume they're still Christians on some level. Who knows?
I don't know.
But that never was like, they never really seldom talked about it. I don't even know how we fully knew they were Christians. Maybe because they said they were a couple of times.
They formed at a Christian university. That was my connection there.
Gotcha.
Was like,
okay.
I remember that discourse was like that. Oh, they're from this place, so they're one of us, and or one of them,
That's so
depending
weird
on
to me.
which side of the aisle you're writing your reviews.
Exactly. All I know is I was just bowled over by this album.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking there's nothing like this out there right now. Like I have not heard anything remotely in this like flavor of music, this mixture of genres. I go to Pitchfork and I read this thing, and all they're fucking talking about is how they're Christians and how that makes their music subpar. And I'm like, fuck you guys. Do you throw away the lyrics? I don't give a shit. Like, you put the lyrics away. Just listen to the music, man. They're doing something here. And it only continued with the second album, which is actually my favorite of the two. And once again, Pitchfork just dissed him for being Christian. And I'm like, they did the same thing with David Bazan. And I'm like, who the fuck are these people? Like, okay, well, I'm going to start a Christian website and basically say that this music sucks because it's secular. I mean, that would be a horrible thing to do because most Christian music does suck.
Yeah.
But it just pissed me off. I don't understand Pitchfork. They're pretentious assholes.
It pissed David Bazan off too.
Oh, I remember
he even wrote a song about it, where he basically told Ryan Schreiber, the guy who owns Pitchfork or started it, whatever. I don't even know if he's involved anymore. To start his own band. Which, I think that's like one of those classical retorts against critics. That it's like, just make music instead of talking. Why don't you do it?
With that. I don't agree with that either, but I also am like, there's way better reviews than this bullshit.
Yeah. No, I think they were always frustrating because there are clearly like albums that just reach some level of uncool with them that get tons of ire. Actually, I don't know if you follow any music discourse of recent things. I caught whiffs of this. I haven't even listened to this thing yet, but I have no interest in Sleep Token, the band.
Oh, I've heard of them, but I don't know anything.
But I have friends that like them. I have nothing against Sleep Token. I'm not even going to say anything terrible about Sleep Token right now. I just know that I guess the discourse right now is that Pitchfork gave them a shitty review that's below anything they give anything else, and the idea is that like they're just so uncool that they're making Pitchfork cringe or something like that, and so that's what the review is. And I guess Pitchfork is getting backlash about that because it's stupid, which I relate to this because it's kind of the same thing. Like, they associated these Christian artists with, oh, you're Christian, you must be uncool. Deduct 2 points from whatever,
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. I can't get with. Okay, so real quick, Are the friends who like Sleep Token the same friends that didn't believe in Christian rock?
No, actually,
Oh,
it's
okay, thank
separate
God.
friends. It's
Yeah,
separate.
beautiful. I was about to be concerned for Sleep Token, honestly.
I don't think you have to be concerned for Sleep Token. I think they're
doing
getting
just
enough
fine.
rest.
Yeah, no doubt, and money apparently. It's
Yeah.
they're getting paid to sleep.
They can buy as many masks as they want now.
Yeah, man, wouldn't that be the day? Yeah, but that's the only diatribe I wanted to go on. I hate Pitchfork. The best thing they ever did was to dissolve, and then they shut it down. So
I know. Can we please have a moment of silence for the dissolve?
amen.
It dissolved way too soon.
Yeah.
I was so surprised at that because it was so good. And I think this was my first experience with I must be in a bubble because everyone on the internet that I talked to was reading the dissolve and I was like, this is popular. I guess it's going to keep going.
It's like
And
Grantland.
then, yeah.
Grantland was
And
the same way. Everyone was reading Grantland.
Sure, that's what it seemed like, at least.
Yeah. I never read it.
And then, yeah, and then it dissolved in a year, or 2 years. I don't know how long.
I think it might have lasted 2 years, but
it was way too short. And then, because no one was reading it, apparently.
What's more sad? The fact that the dissolve ended so quickly, or the fact that most of the really talented reviewers on the dissolve are no longer very talented.
I don't know. Who were
because they're writing for big names now.
Well, I think some of them you can get. I never, I was into Letterboxd for a little bit.
I will take that back. There is one that has remained pretty solid, and that's Tasha Robinson. So I will take that back, and I will, shout out her name. She's great. Polygon.
Okay. I am really bad at following writers that I like anymore.
I know you haven't read the last 5 pieces I've sent you. I'm just kidding.
You don't know that.
I'm just kidding.
I've read 2 of them. How about that?
I've even written 5 pieces in the last 6 months.
I thought you were going back the last 2 years.
I mean, it feels like that. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but yeah. No, I just remember that the dissolve gave Sleepaway Camp new life, and I was always appreciative of that.
I love Sleepaway Camp so much.
I love that movie. Oh, hey, just because we should start talking about it, it's June already. What are we going to do for Halloween?
Ooh, I think, didn't we come up with something? I think you came up with something. Now I need you to give me more about what your thinking was. Your concept was the 7 deadly sins, which we've already run into a situation because there are 7 of them, and they're usually only 5 weeks or 5 Thursdays in Halloween. So there's a math problem there.
Well, I mean, you could just add more weeks.
Yeah, but is it actually Halloween?
Oh my God. I don't know. Or we could vote on the best 5 of the 7 deadly
5
sins. And then just do those, and then
no, we're doing all 7 because this is a great idea. Now, okay, so how are we gonna pick them? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I have no idea. I was like, there's got to be movies about gluttony.
We could just nail them all and watch 7.
No. I was thinking we should call it "What's on the Cast." What's on the cast? What's on the cast? Or what's on the pod? I don't know.
What's in the pod?
What's in the pod? But yeah, I was just thinking we could find movies that relate to the 7 deadly sins.
I love it.
I've been playing a lot of. There's the video game called The Binding of Isaac that I play, and it's very blasphemous. But I maintain it's not anti-Christian. It's actually just dark and disturbing in other ways. But you play as this child who you are in an abusive household and you have to escape your mother, and you go into your basement, and your basement becomes this big sprawling dungeon that you have to cry your way out of.
Hey,
Uh,
Jameson, there's this number I want you to write down. It's for the suicide hotline.
okay. But some of there are these mini bosses that you run into throughout the game, and they're all after the seven
What
deadly
does that
sins.
even
So
mean in an abusive household? Mini bosses?
no,
What are you talking about?
so that's like the context. It it turns into like this weird
Nothing like
angel.
gamifying abuse.
Yeah, no, it turns into this weird angels and demons like. So
Shit.
more context is that your mom, who is kind of the bad guy in all of this, is brainwashed by uh
A
like
Christian cult.
televangelists and things like
Okay.
that.
Oz
And so
Perkins.
that's kind of floating around. And the tie-in to the Binding of Isaac is your name is Isaac, but she also hears the word of God to um, do recreate the Isaac story, essentially,
Oh,
but do it real life. And
and
so
actually go through with it.
yeah, so you have to flee from her. Interesting. Are you interested in me talking more about this? Because
Yes, please God, because this is amazing.
I've got a dazzling
And
news
it's
about
only
this.
making you look worse. And I love
So
it.
so this is actually, I don't know how to explain how fun this game is, but this is an amazing game that has been going for over a decade now, and the guy keeps adding to it. Did you ever hear about the game Super Meat Boy? So it was a famous indie game that came out, around 2010. It was really difficult. You played as this big giant piece of meat, and you had to jump through all of these like buzz saws, and you'd get sliced up if you didn't. And it was very challenging, very difficult, very violent. His follow-up game, the guy who made that, Ed McMillan, his follow-up game was The Binding of Isaac, and it was
Okay.
just this quick flash game that he made. The idea is it's randomly generated, so each time it's a different setup, and there's all these random power-ups that you get, and they stack, and it's very difficult, so you actually die a lot in it, and then you have to restart the game, and it's kind of a new setup. But how you what it is kind of like a top-down shooter type game. So think of games like where you're like a spaceship shooting at the aliens. So it's kind of like that, except instead of a spaceship, you're a child named Isaac, and instead of lasers, you shoot out your tears at the bad guys. Yeah, you have to like let go of any sort of like reality you want to
Oh, I'm
start
not even worried about
thinking
that
about.
part.
Yeah, anyway, you get like power ups. Like you get one. There's one really powerful one called Brimstone, where your tears actually turn into lasers, and you can like shoot them out. And it's actually a very very complicated game. You should look up videos of gameplay of The Binding of Isaac. It is very wacky. Anyway, um, I've been playing this game for like 10 years, and you could well, it never ends. It just kind of keeps creating new things for you to play. So it's kind of like a something you can put like a half an hour into on the weekend or something like that, and then just kind of move on with your day. So I've been a fan, and when I lived in Santa Cruz, I watched this movie called Indie Game the Movie that was about all of these makers of indie games and just kind of documenting them. And one of them was this guy, Ed McMillan, and it was actually documenting his creation of Super Meat Boy, which was his first kind of success. The Binding of Isaac is much bigger than that now, but when they interview him, they're like, "Oh, he lives in Santa Cruz, California." So I was like, "Oh, he's around." And Santa Cruz is not a like huge city. It's like 80,000 people, and so I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll run into him someday." I was like, he probably wants to be left alone. That's fine. Uh, for one of my birthdays, Kira actually emails him and is like, "Hey, my husband is like really into your game. Do you want to meet him sometime?" And he responds to Kira and was like, "You sound normal. If he had emailed me, I would have said fuck off. But because you emailed me, this actually seems really sweet. Sure, let's meet up." And I got to meet him, and I got a signed. Yeah, I got my copy of the Binding of Isaac, my Switch copy of the Binding of Isaac signed, and
How
he
does
had
that work?
it's a physical game that he signed.
From Switch. I was thinking Steam.
No, Switch.
I was like, what? Yeah.
No,
Okay, Switch. That makes sense.
so again, like as terrible as this game sounds, it's really fun, and it has developed a really big cult following, and it has many releases, and one of them is a physical copy on Switch, so I was able to get that. There's even like a card game based on this. Like it was a really big thing, and still kind of is, and he keeps like adding more to it. But he was just a really cool, normal guy. He told me that sometimes he regrets how many hours of lives have played his games, and he wonders if he's ruined any lives. And I was like, well, I'm getting my PhD in math, so I don't think it's had a bad impact on me. Can't speak for everyone else, but and then he was like, well, okay, there's one case where it wasn't terrible.
I mean, the simple fact that he was asking that question says a lot about his character. So
yeah, so and like I said, the game itself, if you like pass through it, you're like, oh, this is horrible, or this is very blasphemous, and you probably would, I don't begrudge anyone who gets really offended by it, but I know that he's just into really gross art and stuff like that, and it's not altogether like anti-religious, even if it borders on blasphemy. And I think there's a lot of like he talks about how he's not really into religion, but he's not into like bashing on it. He actually had this experience where his grandma, who's very Catholic, was just such a positive influence in his life too. So, I think there's no one needs to play this game. I'm not trying to convince anyone to play it. And if you
sure didn't
get the
sound like it with the amount of time you were talking about it.
if you get the heebie-jeebies from it, that's one thing. But I do think that there is some more depth than just the gross out factor of it. But yeah.
You know what? You know what happens every time you tell me about a game? I'm like, actually, that sounds like that would actually be something I'd like to play. And then I play it for like maybe 2 hours tops. And I'm like, that was interesting. And then I don't ever play it again.
Don't play this one.
But that's because I'm horrible at games. Not because I didn't think it was good.
Yeah, watch videos of this game. Don't buy it, because This game is one of those games where you die for the first like 5 hours of play, and you're just like, I'm not having any fun, and then something clicks, and then it starts to kind of open up. And it's not, if you're not like into that type of challenge
Yeah.
about, specifically about video games, it's not a good, it's not worth it.
I tried playing Five Nights at Freddy's, and I couldn't even make it past. I couldn't even figure out how to get out of the first like scene
You
because
couldn't
I'm
get to
so
the
bad at
first
games.
afternoon even.
Yeah, I couldn't even open a door or something because that's how bad at games I am.
Yeah.
But yeah. Go. What? Did you say my name?
I was just gonna ask you to
My name.
Stop the bullshit and start the movie.
Yeah.
It's time.
Stop the bullshit. Okay. So, do you want to introduce it as a segue from post-punk?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the movie introduces itself as a segue of post-punk.
Because the opening scene is a concert, a post-punk
It's
concert.
literally a concert that has nothing to do with anything else except I think the keyboardist is the girl who's later in the movie. And yeah, do you know what band that was?
No, I don't even know if it was a band.
That was the one where I kept trying to Shazam it, and Shazam would be like, "Nope."
It didn't sound familiar to me.
Yeah, but they play it again later in the movie.
Yeah.
So this movie, there's some connection to bands, and then after the opening scene, you meet this guy named Ernie who works at a crucifix factory, and actually gets fired from the crucifix factory
Stealing
pretty soon
crucifixes.
for stealing crucifixes.
So he can
But
put them in weird positions.
yeah, he just puts them on his wall,
and melts them and breaks them and puts them back together and
yeah,
something.
But Ernie is working on something, and he is a pretty good salesman about it because he's excited the whole town about this invention that he's working on.
Now,
and
just to give some context, this little town is in the middle of the desert.
It's in the middle of the desert. It is described as the Bible Belt,
which doesn't make any sense, but
yes,
whatever.
If you know anything about the Bible Belt, you know this is like, I feel like this was a thing in the 80s to assume that everything, I guess, in the south of the United States was just the same thing, right? You have this with Raising Arizona, which, I don't know, they have like southern accents, but they're in Arizona. And, that movie is just wacky, so I give it a pass. But like, I didn't really quite understand where we were. Luckily, this movie doesn't, it's not fully necessary to care about the geography.
It does. There is some religiosity in it, though. Specifically, Bob Gunton who is probably my favorite character in the whole movie. Because I don't understand the character at all. He's like a Bible thumping like doomsday prepper, like old school like Cold War like doomsday prepper, who preaches salvation through Jesus from the top of a motel, and yet is friends with Ernie, who is creating this whole thing, creating this invention. And he seems like he seems like a laid back dude in his regular home life.
He's related to Ernie. They're like cousins or something like that.
That's right. If that's to be believed.
Yeah.
I mean,
Bob Gunton his character reminded me of did you ever watch King of the Hill?
Mm-hmm.
He's
Oh
kind
yeah.
of like a Dale Gribble.
Yep. Yep.
Where he's clearly like into some weird, prepper
Mm-hmm.
conspiracy shit. But, he also wants to kind of be in control of people
Yeah.
and, like, yeah, it was weird when it was revealed that Bob Gunton is this preacher to the town, but he's doing it to make people weaker once World War II or World War III hits,
Yeah.
right? He's like, I'm creating more sheep so that there's more, more for us. And I didn't, yeah, it seemed like there's like a glimmer of a weird, interesting character there. I don't know if I
Oh,
fully
it's not fully
quite,
formed. No.
yeah,
No.
it's not fully
I mean,
formed.
there's almost the semblance of a wise blood going on in there somewhere,
Yeah,
but it's not quite to the same level of uh, Hazel Motes.
yeah, that is actually interesting that you bring that up. I didn't think about Wise Blood at all, which I don't know why I wasn't thinking about
And
that.
that's
But
not even my
yeah,
main connection.
no, no, yeah, it does feel like Mark Romanek was like trying for something very literary with this. Um, but yeah, I mean, I do have to say, it wasn't, I didn't walk away going, wow. Like, I walked away going, oh my God, to one thing, and I'm sure we'll get to that, but like, uh, you know, it's probably going to be something that kind of like stays in a kernel in my mind. Just
Yeah,
like, oh, yeah, that was interesting. It wasn't great, but it was weird and
it was
fun.
different enough to make me remember it.
Yeah, yeah. Which, you know, I don't think you should be ashamed of that. It
No,
was it was loads better than Axum.
exactly.
You could see what was happening.
Yeah, you could hear what was happening.
You could.
There was no static. Yeah. So the movie that kept popping in my head while watching this, and I'm curious if you feel the same way, that this connection is actually like fitting for you too. But I kept getting real hard Lars and the Real Girl vibes from this. And it's less about the object of the conceit of the movies, more about this idea that the community like ends up becoming like the only like animating force of the individual at the center of the story.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I
Whereas
think that
whereas Lars ends in a more joyful state, like it's more positive, whereas this one is a little bit more negative. But it's the sensation of the community being so like worked up about like, oh, he's about to reveal it, all this stuff, like being excited for this like loner, this kind of slacker character. It reminded me pretty heavily of Lars and the Real.
yeah, I could see that. I think that's a good connection there. Because I think you're right. The community really is there for this guy, at least through some of it.
Until the end.
Until the end, well, even
Yeah, sort of.
through up
Even
to
at the
there,
end.
and some of the community
Yeah.
is still with him at the end. But yeah, I mean, I think there's this sense where everybody is rooting for him. There are these levels where not everybody is willing to go with him all the way, and I think that's like, frustrating to him. But yeah, I think the community aspect is a good point of comparison there, for sure.
Do you think that he actually saw heaven on the screen?
So yeah, let's get into that. So his big invention that so he goes, there's these scenes where he's talking about it. He's talking about how he's creating something.
That's
He
really
meets
that's really 3/4 of the movie is him talking about this invention
him talking about
to
it. Yeah,
various people.
he meets with a patent lawyer at one point, and he invites them to this party that takes place, the night before Christmas, and which is traditionally called Christmas Eve. And then he reveals the object that he's made, and it's this computer and a television set. And the computer has an antenna on it, or a satellite, and
Somehow the mixer worked itself into it. I don't know how.
I'm not exactly sure how it all fits. Um, but so then he reveals what it does, and he says, "Oh, um, this gives you a live feed into heaven." Um, and so that is the idea. And then if you're wondering, okay, so this movie is called Static, I wonder what people see when they look at this. Oh, it's static. So he starts getting frustrated that no one else can see what he sees. They start getting frustrated that they, kind of fell into this crazy person's trap, and or not trap, just way of thinking. Um, and then it kind of goes off the rails a little bit from there. Yeah.
So, but the thing that we realize, and I think it's around the time that he reveals the invention that you find out that his parents died in a crash.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Like not long before the movie starts, or takes place, and so you start to realize, okay, well, is this individual just grieving?
Mm-hmm.
And that is what is helping him envision what he's seeing on the screen, or in a true like frailty sense of things, is he actually seeing heaven and no one else can see it?
Mm-hmm.
I think it could go either way.
Yeah. So Blake, do you think he saw heaven?
No, I think he's grieving.
You think he was grieving? One thing I thought was interesting was, and they kind of go into this a little bit, was he keeps being pushed as to what, so what? So what if you could see heaven? I think at one point, the girl in the movie, the post-punk girl,
Mm-hmm.
um, um, challenges him on that, and his response is like, people are hurt, and this will help, and they'll know what to do. And I think that's so interesting. And I was talking with a friend about this today, my friend Greg,
Mm-hmm.
and he was telling me how he's listening to and watching, or listening to, like, these Thomas Merton things. And I guess Thomas Merton, I'm probably going to butcher this, misquote it. This was all based on a conversation. I didn't have a chance to look it up. But Thomas Merton said something along the lines of, like, if you had access to the divine, all you would want to do is just look at it and just gaze upon it all day. And that would be enough. And, he kind of made the connection to, like, my son, who, yeah, he just spends a lot of time holding a piece of garlic and just, like, looking at it and kind of wondering about it.
Mm-hmm.
And just, like, he's like, my garlic, where's my garlic? And it's so important to him to just gaze at this thing and look at it,
Mm-hmm.
and it, like, solves all the problems, and everything kind of washes away. And I think it's interesting to think that is kind of what this guy was saying, was like, you just need to look at this and that'll be enough for you. And I think that was like, that was maybe what was hard for everyone to do, is like feel that they could do that. But anyway,
it's funny. My priest often tells a story about, and who knows where this came from, but he tells a story about a Christian and a Muslim. The Christian takes the Muslim guy to a mass, and they're sitting there, and it's I can't remember the name of this type of service, but it's basically an adoration of the body of Christ or something like that. And so they go through this whole service, and as they're walking out of the service, the Muslim guy turns to the Christian guy and he says, if this is true, if everything that you are adoring and worshiping is true, why do you ever leave this building? Because the idea that, like, if you're in the midst of the Savior, the divine, then why would you ever leave? And the Christian turns to him and says, because he sends us out into the world. That is, so we do what he says. Yes, we get to gaze upon his beauty, but at the same time, he commands us to go out and love others. And it's the idea, like, it's the desire to gaze upon that which is beautiful, that which is true or good, and I think he's right in the sense that there's a concept in my head that's kind of been cracking open during this little bit of discussion here, is that I think the more we give attention to things, the weirder the world gets. Like when we actually sit and attend to something, we actually start recognizing it for its weirdness, its uniqueness, its oddness. It's like the garlic. It's like looking at it and being like, why is this the way it is? Like, why is it shaped like this? Why does it smell like this? Why does it taste like this? And the more you think about it, the weirder it can become. And I think because we're so distracted all the time, I don't think we know how to attend to anything anymore. And so the world gets less weird, less interesting, less magical, less whatever your choice of word is. But yeah, I think he's on to something there. Unfortunately, I don't think the movie quite bolsters that message.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's interesting that you liken kind of our distraction to noise and static. And
But he was attending to it. He was attending to the static, and he saw something there. So
yeah. So Blake, let's talk about the movie's end, because we have to kind of
do that. Do we have to talk about it?
Yeah, we do.
Can we not just like do a Jameson cut where we just miss the end?
Where
we slept through it?
I didn't sleep through it this time. Sorry. So the end gets like really wacky. He, for some reason, Bob Gunton gives him a gun for Christmas, which, okay, he's a wacky guy. That makes sense. But, this is after he had this big reveal and it didn't go well, and you could tell he's still grieving. So maybe a gun isn't the right thing for this young man to have. He takes it with him on the bus, bus
full of elderly people.
And he reveals to them that he has a gun, and they get kind of weirded out, but they also get weird. And then he also tells them...
They don't panic, really.
No. He also tells them about his invention, and they get real excited about that. And they're like, don't be shitting with us because we're old, you know. We want to know that heaven is there. And you know, that made me laugh. But yeah, it gets really wacky. And there's like a bus driver who's like, I don't got time for this, you know, blah blah blah. But they hijack the bus in an act of terrorism, I guess, kind of,
Or solidarity.
or solidarity. Yeah. And you know, then that draws attention, and the sheriff comes out, and he brings the SWAT team with him, because they think that Ernie is like holding all of these old ladies hostage and this bus driver. And then Ernie asks to be interviewed so he can get spread his gospel. And then what happens, Blake?
I don't actually remember.
Uh so
It's been about a month since I've watched this.
so the
I remember everything up till this, but the specific thing you're asking for, it's not there. Not coming to
the
me.
interview yeah, so the interview happens, and they ask to see his invention, and he goes, "Can we go and drive up there?" And the bus driver's like, "I don't know. The sheriff's not gonna like it if we leave." And then one of the old ladies goes like, "You have to. That's a demand," because they're supporting his act of terror. And the bus leaves full of civilians and this one guy who has a gun. And the SWAT team just starts shooting at the bus and blows it the fuck up with everyone
That
on
is
that
funny that
bus.
I have no recollection of that. I must have fallen asleep or something.
Yeah.
I remember everything up to that point, but I do not remember that for some reason. Maybe it's so traumatizing that I just.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It was okay. Again, just recap. Like, yes, maybe this movie has a little bit of like the Flannery O'Connor darkness to it,
But it's
and
all for now.
maybe the weirdness is there, but it's pretty goofy. It's pretty like slacker comedy vibes the whole time. And it gets even goofier when he's on the bus and the old ladies are egging him on, and
Yeah.
you know, all of this is happening, and then it's just kind of like slapstick, and then kaboom, the bus just destroys everyone. Anyway, and it ends.
All buses go to heaven.
All buses go to heaven.
Yeah, I really don't know what to do with this movie. I'm at a loss because it's the. I agree that it almost seems like he's attempting to pull some Flannery O'Connor grotesqueness and weirdness and whatnot, but it feels nihilistic in a way that Flannery O'Connor wouldn't ever be. Like it feels all for naught. Like really all of this kind of came to nothing. And the weird vibe shift between the whole movie and then that ending. It's just like, okay.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of Flannery O'Connor stuff, you know, these stories end in, you know, these ironic moments, and there's usually like a spurt of violence.
Yeah.
But not always. But then there's usually some sort of redemption, or at least grace. And if I'm trying to reach for some sort of grace in this movie, the one thing that I can think of is, well, I guess the ambiguity stays alive. You know, they don't go to see his machine, and then, they can't disprove him. But that doesn't feel
lingers into a
like,
cop-out more than anything.
yeah, that doesn't really feel like much of a grace, right? That feels kind of like yeah, like a cop out.
Yeah,
So
a cheat.
a cheat. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could say that, like, maybe the ending is ironic in the sense that he was grieving about his parents and then he gets to see them again. Maybe that's
Maybe
that's a really kind of depressing way of looking at it, but I guess you could
if
read it that way.
you felt like I don't know, and I think this is where, I don't necessarily think the best stories rely on you to know what the author was thinking too. I don't think that should be, a requirement to anything you're reading. But I do think that interpretation depends on if the story even allows you to believe that this guy was telling the truth, right? That, like, heaven is real in this context.
Mm-hmm. And if the tone wasn't so slacker comedy-ish, I think you could say that yes, there is sincerity in the guy's beliefs because he does seem like he believes in his invention. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole, like, to the point that the whole community believes that he is doing something great
Mm-hmm.
and they're just waiting for him to reveal it, you know. But the tone of the movie just undercuts all of that in that it's a little too, hey guys. Yeah.
And I mean, I think you could have worked towards something that did work, but I just don't feel like blowing up the bus is the ending that brings that vibe and kind of the community aspect that you were talking about together. Like, I think it just pushes it further and further away. I just, makes it more shocking than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess that's where I'm at with this movie is, you could have, I think there's an ending out there for this movie that highlights the community aspect and kind of brings some sort of grace for this character, this Ernie character, and maybe even like closure. I don't think the ending that we got does any of that. So,
No. Now, I will say, to the film's credit, I did enjoy my time spent with him as he was talking to all the people. Like
hmm
there was a certain kind of charisma that the guy playing him had. That it was like an awkward, like early John Cusack awkward charisma.
hmm
That was kind of fun, and the way he like talked to people, and especially with his connection with Bob Gunton. Um, I thought those were really great moments when he got to interact with him and his family. I really
hmm
enjoyed those scenes in the motel apartment or whatever. And so I enjoyed that aspect of the movie quite a bit. The reveal of the invention to the bus blowing up, which I apparently blocked out of memory, um, did very little for me.
hmm
Um, but I mean, the talking about the invention with all the people is most of the movie. So I mean,
yeah,
I've spent my time with worse.
yeah, yeah. And, it's an interesting movie. It's kind of funny that it's been forgotten, but
I think this is one of those though that like I kind of get why,
yeah.
because it doesn't really have like a character that stands out, like not like a character, but like the movie has doesn't have a character itself that makes it
Mhm.
like memorable, like some of the movies we've watched. I almost kind of put it in the same camp as Marwan, just kind of like there,
Mm-hmm.
And like, okay, well, that was a thing. There was some vaguely interesting elements to it, but also
Mm-hmm.
I would never go back to it. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've gone overtime, Blake, and
Yeah.
we gotta
We
get you
gotta
to a
stop doing this
movie.
shit. We gotta
Yeah.
stop that shit.
Are you going to a late night movie?
I haven't heard anything, no.
Oh,
So I may just finish Dead Male,
all
which I
right.
highly recommend, at least the 40 minutes I've watched.
Well, if it continues to be good, yeah, I'll definitely check it out. All right, dude. Well,
Well, bye.
talk. Bye.